Breaking update, Jimmy Kimmel has been canceled. You can already anticipate what comes next. Kimmel himself and the usual suspects will scream about right-wing censorship and unfairness. And right on cue, Governors Gavin Newsom and J.B. Pritzker are already calling this censorship. But here's the truth. Jimmy Kimmel still has freedom of speech. What he doesn't have is a late-night platform that was already losing money for Disney with its dismal ratings. And here's the other truth. Free speech has consequences. You are witnessing that now. The marketplace has spoken. It's worth quoting a member of Congress, Representative Ilhan Omar, a Democrat, who wrote, "Does the First Amendment protect your freedom of speech? Yes. Does it protect you from being shamed or shunned by others? No. Bottom line, your opinions have consequences like everything else in life." End quote. My friends, we are all anonymous. And remember, words have power. Sometimes the consequence is applause. Sometimes it's cancellation.
We got to talk about Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah, and obviously I'm not going to bury the lead. I'm going to let you guys hear the audio of what he had to say. Hopefully it doesn't get copyrighted, because if it does, I'm going to have to take it out. So if you don't hear it, it's because of copyright reasons. I obviously can't play the actual video itself, but I'm pretty sure I can just simply play the audio for you. So with that being said, let's hear that.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay?
Yeah, that's what Jimmy Kimmel had to say about the entire situation. And he's been suspended indefinitely. Hold on, let me put my big old head on the screen for you there. There we go. There I am. How you doing? So, Disney's ABC said it would take Jimmy Kimmel's popular late-night show off its schedule indefinitely after one of the biggest owners of TV stations in the U.S., Nexstar Media, said it intended to preempt airings of the program following remarks the host made about the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Nexstar said Wednesday that it strongly objects to recent comments made by Mr. Kimmel concerning the killing of Charlie Kirk and will replace the show with other programming in its ABC affiliated markets. Yeah. So he got suspended indefinitely, taken off the air. Interesting. Also saw something interesting as well, and I lost the tab. Goodness gracious, where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go? Here it is. So according to Nick Sorter, it just got worse for Kimmel. Sinclair Broadcast Group, who owns 24 ABC stations in major American cities, announced they'll be filling Jimmy Kimmel's slot with a tribute to Charlie Kirk. Beautiful. Beautiful. So here is the letter. Does it say that they will be? Largest objects to recent comments. As discussed, ABC earlier, Sinclair decided to indefinitely. Yeah, I don't think it says that they'll be airing. Oh, Sinclair stations, or Sinclair's ABC stations will air a special in remembrance of Charlie Kirk. this Friday during Jimmy Kimmel's live slot. So at least one day they will, during his slot, be airing a tribute to Charlie Kirk. So that's great. That's phenomenal to see. That's phenomenal to see. But of course, the liberals, they're losing their minds over this one, including Chris Hayes, who happens to be quite the hypocrite. Because if you guys remember, when Tucker Carlson was fired from Fox, they all loved it. But now all of a sudden, it's a horrible, terrible, no good, very bad thing. Check it out.
ABC made the announcement Kimmel would indeed be taken off the air indefinitely. And this is just the latest chapter in Donald Trump's ongoing campaign to crack down on free speech, dominate the media, and essentially render the First Amendment meaningless. So it was for the journeyman cable news host Tucker Carlson, just fired from his third network. He believed he could say anything, no matter how vile, no matter how disgusting, no matter how offensive, no matter how dehumanizing or belittling. And if you act like a sociopath over and over and over and over, you will become unpopular on the national stage. That's just like a basic principle. Over time, probably not going to work out well for you in the long run. Eventually, people will be rightly offended, disgusted by it.
So it was fine when Tucker was fired, but all of a sudden now, Trump is taking away freedom of speech. Even AOC had celebrated when Tucker got fired. You guys remember this clip?
Tucker Carlson is out at Fox News. Couldn't have happened to a better guy. What I will say, though, is while I'm very glad that the person that was arguably responsible for some of the largest, driving some of the most amounts of death threats and violent threats, not just to my office, but to plenty of people across the country, I also kind of feel like I'm like waiting for the cutscene at the end of a Marvel movie after all the credits have rolled, and then you see like the villain's like hand reemerge out to grip over like the end of a building or something. But deplatforming works, and it is important, and there you go.
So it's great to take Tucker off, and, she talked about the villain's hand coming out. Well, I think Tucker did a lot more than that. Even though he's not a villain, he absolutely launched himself out of the so-called rubble, right? Instead of just taking the hand out, he launched his entire body out of the rubble, and has a phenomenal show himself, and is doing very well. So him being fired wasn't necessarily a bad thing. He became even more popular after being fired. But once again, like I said, people on the left are losing their minds. And you guys remember when I was talking about Chuck Schumer and not hearing from him for quite a long time? Well, he's back. And you want to guess what he's talking about? Check it out.
Senator Schumer, your reaction to this?
It is outrageous. It's a page right out of Xi's playbook. This is just despicable, disgusting, and against democratic values. Trump and his allies seem to want to shut down speech that they don't like to hear. That is not what democracies do. That is what autocracies do. And it doesn't matter whether you agree with Kimmel or not. He has the right to free speech. And so it is just outrageous. It is indicative of autocracy. And I am just outraged by it. Again, this is what dictators do. This is what Xi would do. This is what Putin would do. We are not that country.
Right back to that same type of language, too. This is what dictators do. The same language that have people on the left thinking that we're threats to democracy and Nazis and Hitlers and everything else bad. This is what dictators do. Okay. But it was great when Tucker was fired, though. Right.
Yeah, right. Congressman, I see you are wearing a hat. What does that hat say?
You're damn right I am, John. I was a guest on the Jimmy Kimmel show. He, every night, has a right to come into any house that wants to watch and entertain Americans, just as Greg Gutfeld on Fox has a right to be not funny and go on his network and entertain Americans. It's a part of who we are, John, and frankly, it should shake every American that the President of the United States is out there firing comedians who make fun of him. That is not who we are, and every American should care and stand up to this.
I'm sorry. Last time I checked, Trump wasn't Jimmy Kimmel's boss. So how could he possibly have fired Jimmy Kimmel, but he's not his boss? Now I want you guys to take a listen to what Brian Stelter had to say, because it's quite interesting. Pay close attention to what show the FCC chairman went on, or what type of show. Take a listen.
Kimmel was expressing what we've heard some other liberals say in recent days, that the motives are unclear and that maybe the suspect in this case was a Republican or was some sort of far-right fringe figure. Of course, there has been a lot of discussion about that in recent days. There's a lot of evidence pointing in other directions about the suspect. But Kimmel was on the air talking about this, making a very serious commentary amid his jokes in his monologue Monday night. Here's where it became interesting earlier today. The FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, went on a far-right webcast and condemned Kimmel and urged ABC to suspend him. He also talked about possible regulatory punishments of Disney because there are lots of different stations that have licenses with the FCC. Within the past hour, we've heard from a big owner of stations that have affiliations with ABC, a company called Nexstar, saying that they were going to suspend Kimmel's show on their station. So in other words, about 24 stations were refusing to air Kimmel's show tonight as a result of this controversy. And then following word that some of those stations were basically revolting against Kimmel, Disney, the parent company of ABC, decided to yank the show entirely.
Did y'all catch that?
Saying that they were going to suspend Kimmel. We've heard from a big owner of stations, Disney, because there are lots of different stations that have licenses with the FCC.
Hold on, where was it?
Webcast and condemned Kimmel. Interesting earlier today. The FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, went on a far-right webcast.
The FCC chairman went on a far-right webcast. You know who that far-right individual is that he was referring to? Which I guess would label me as far right. I don't think me and Benny disagree on many things, at least as far as I've heard, Benny speak about. I'd imagine Benny and I basically agree on 99.9% of things, right? Maybe 98, I don't know. But it's pretty close to 100. It's about as close as you could possibly get. He was referring to Benny Johnson.
When you look at
the
the conduct that has taken place by Jimmy Kimmel, it appears to be some of the sickest conduct possible. As you've indicated, there are avenues here for the FCC. So there are some ways in which I need to be a little bit careful, because we could be called ultimately to be a judge on some of these claims that come up, but I don't think this is an isolated incident. I mean, you go back to Representative Swalwell, and he had a tweet out last week where he was saying that, emphasizing that Charlie Kirk's killer was a straight white male from a Republican family that voted for Donald Trump. In some quarters, there's a very concerted effort to try to lie to the American people about the nature, as you indicate, of one of the most significant, newsworthy public interest acts that we've seen in a long time. And what appears to be an action by Jimmy Kimmel to play into that narrative that this was somehow a MAGA or Republican motivated person. If that's what happened here with his conduct, that is really, really sick. And I've been very clear.
Yeah, that's the show they were talking about as far right. If Benny is far right, then what am I? Like, just off the cliff far right? Like, I don't understand. This is absolutely crazy talk. Far right. And it's interesting how they're quick to try to label anybody on the right far right or MAGA extremists, but they're always tiptoeing around folks on the left who are obviously deranged and far left. They want to tiptoe around that, And once again, it just goes to show the news is no longer the news. It is simply glorified YouTube channels with a bunch of people stating their opinions and not simply speaking the news. Can we make the news great again, please? Please. Like it's just absolutely gotten ridiculous. I remember when the news actually told you what happened, how it happened. They showed you the clips of the footage and they left it at that. Right? Y'all remember that? Like they just actually told you what, like the news should do. They just told you what happened, how it happened, who it happened to, who did it, who blah blah blah. And they left it at that. They let you come up with your own assumptions or they let you come up with your own ideas on how you wanted to feel about it. And they left it. Can we get back to that? Please? Please. Like yesterday. Immediately. Anyway, I ain't mad at it. I'm actually kind of happy about this, right? Because for so long we have seen people on the right, us far-right extremists, right, as they would call us, far-right extremists. We have seen us be taken off of shows and had accounts banned and the whole nine, right? So now that they're getting a taste of their own medicine, listen, I ain't gonna cry over a little spilled milk, baby. You know what I'm saying? I'm just not, right? I'm just not. This is exactly what they have been doing to us for a long time now. And, what Jimmy Kimmel said was pretty disgusting. So, hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. But y'all get in the comments. Let me know your thoughts and your opinions about all of this. Y'all stay safe out there. Peace and love. I'm out.